Welcome to the GameChanger 00100 show. I am your host, GameChanger. So, I was a couple of days ago, in fact, it was maybe like 3, 4 days ago. I was watching this video from Chantel Simone. And one thing, because she does a lot of clips, just like I do, but she does it in a much more efficient way in a shorter span of time, and they're not live. Um, It featured a guy, and it took me a while to find it. It featured a guy and how he just was going through all of these posts, his Tinder or Bumble or whatever, his dating apps, and the rejection that happened there. I'm definitely going to cover that. And then a couple of days ago, I see, or actually, I think it was yesterday, where Remy, she covered how men are quietly leaving the friend zone. Now, before I get into these videos, I want to discuss what the friend zone is and how it evolved into something so divisive that it makes you not even want to have friends of the opposite sex anymore. I don't really believe that it's either side's fault. Hit the like button while I dwell into this. So when you look at shows like Friends or Living Single or something like that, and these are shows where it's a group of friends that get together. The whole premise of it is it's single people of opposite sexes getting together in a platonic way. And then by the end of the show, when they need a ratings boost, those friends become lovers in one way or another. Like in Living Single, you had what's his name? Not Overton, but Cal Barker, and he gets with Maxine Waters, and then you have Overton, and he gets with I forget her name, but you know who I'm talking about. I think her name is like Lynn or something like that. So they that's the whole premise. They eventually hook up with each other, but they start off as friends. Same with the Big Bang Theory. You have Leonard, and eventually, you become friends because you get to know people in micro doses. And once you get to know the best and worst of people and they become a fixture in your life, it's natural for a relationship to pursue in many cases from that. However, this natural progression that used to be a thing, like that's why they were able to make these shows and make it make sense. This natural progression used to be a thing until this whole friend zone thing. I'm not going to say the friend zone was invented. Let's stop there. I'm not going to say that, in modern times the friend zone just became a thing out of nowhere. It's always been there, but it's always been a very rare instance. And it required a number of factors to determine that this is a friend zone situation. One of the key elements is the man had to be, because it's almost always the man in the friend zone. The man had to be into the woman and the woman was not into him. So those are two factors. And the third factor is the woman has to be taking advantage of him and have little to no respect for him. Now let's talk about the first two factors. If you have two people together, man and woman, um, and we talk about if the man is interested in the woman, there's always going to be certain levels of interest. That doesn't mean that he's interested, like interest isn't a cut or dry thing when you're dealing with men and women. It's not an either or thing. Either he's interested or he's not. No, there are completely different levels to it. That's why, from a man's point of view, you could say, oh, dang, I'd smash that. And then there's the level of, okay, if I got nothing better to do and I'm sick and tired of all my video games and I come home and she just so happened to be naked in the bed and it's been 3 months, then yeah, I do that. Versus, oh, that's my fantasy. There's completely different levels of interest. between completely uninterested and woman of my dreams. So, in determining if a man is in a friend zone, you have to really look at it from that perspective, meaning that, is he interested in me? Well, that's not a cut or dry thing. Cause like, did he have a dirty thought when you bent over to pick something up, to pick up your keys or something? He's like, ooh, dang, you know. Does that mean he's interested? And because he at that point, at that one moment of bent overness, he becomes interested or aroused or something like that. Does that mean that he is now in the friend zone for having that moment of interest? Or willing to embrace the possibility on a cold winter day, like, in a cold Nebraska winter day, does that mean that your friend, let's just say your friend of 20 years or so, is all of a sudden in your friend zone? So that's one factor. And that's always been there. So I believe that the friend zone originally was for the men who have extreme and extraordinary interests versus when he's paired with a woman who is hostile in her disinterest. Now, these two combinations of elements were extremely rare in the past because women were better people. Modern women are a lot worse than women of the past, meaning that, women didn't string guys along in the friend zone like that. So it was extremely rare for for a man to be in a friend zone. Because for one, women just married younger. So you got to take that into why does she have a friend zone guy if she's married at 24? How long can she string on a friend zone guy? But now that women are dating a lot longer and they're actually looking for guys in their friend zone, it became this completely different definition in modern terms. To really, it just confuses the situation um, completely and altogether. So that's my little blurb on that. Um, I'm gonna see if I can find this video. I actually thought of something that I seen before that I'm gonna share with you on that because this highlights it very well. Um, Now, while I look this up, I'm going to tell you this: I have female friends. Now, my female friends typically consist of, hold on, typically consist of like women who it was highly inappropriate for me to get at her at the beginning stages of the relationship, and there really isn't, it really wouldn't be proper to convert. Okay, for example, if she is a friend of a family member or something like that. It's like, yeah, she's attractive, but trying to start something this way would probably cause all type of problems and drama and stuff within the family, and it's better to not pursue unless there's extraordinary interest. But since we met at during family Christmas, and she was like a cousins plus one or something like that, it just seems completely inappropriate. So however, we're better off as friends. That's one way. And then another way is if you work with someone or if you meet someone while you're in a relationship, and you become friends, and then if the relationship ends, it's like, okay, there's really no transaction period to where you say, okay, let's smash. So and then there's like my mother's friends daughters who I grew up with, and they became like sisters and stuff, but then after they grew out of their training bras, you just still been friends for so long it really don't matter. So there's a number of ways that a person can become friends. Men and females can become uh without necessarily being a friend zone. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this misunderstanding of it really makes it difficult for men and women to be friends at all. And this video really highlights that. So I want y'all to hit that like button. I will review this video, read some of your comments, and then go to the next video. Okay. So shout out to Clayton Thomas. Okay. And shout out to her breasts. Shout out to them. Yeah, there really isn't much more I could say to that. This video is entitled "Man Ruined a 12-Year Friendship Trying to Shoot His Shot." Let's see.
This just broke my heart, man. Man ruined a 12-year friendship trying to shoot a shot. First, 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 let's just take a look at what was said. He responds to a story that she posted and he says, "We've been friends forever. You should just let me see him."
Mhm.
And let me tell you something, man. First of all, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Number two, this was a frustration shot. This wasn't even, he didn't have no finesse on it. He didn't have any smooth delivery to say what anybody else would have said, which is, "Hey, are you free for dinner a day this week? I want to talk to you about something." Or being able to talk to her on the phone and say, "Listen," or you know what, in person is always better for that. "Listen, you and I have been friends for a long time. I'm gonna be honest. I don't just see you as my friend. I know what you're going through with all the guys that you've dated, and your way ain't working. I feel like we need to give each other a chance. Would you be interested in going on a date? Let's see if we have any chemistry." Whatever the case may be. But to just say this was a frustration shot. This was the look. You done gave every other dude a shot at that box. I think it's my turn. That's what this was. It was everything you do has been breaking my heart. Can I just see him? That was, he's gonna offer rent next. Let's take a look at the young lady. Beautiful young lady. Also, I'll tell you something else I didn't see was a response to his message. I don't know if she blocked him, left him on scene. Being left on scene is so disrespectful because that's showing me that you're rude and you have no communication skills. Tell me something. You understand? Now, when you look at this picture, he'd had enough. Okay, look at this work of art. This is just, come on now. At that point, I don't know how long y'all been friends, but he'd had a surmountus amount of. That's not even where you use that word. It just seemed to fit. This is crazy. Ladies, how have you ever let a guy out of the friend zone? And how did it go for you guys? Fellas, have you ever let a young lady out of the friend zone and how did it work out for y'all? Y'all need to understand that not every man wants a woman to just be his friend. Sometimes he thinks that's the easiest way to go to be able to get you to fall in love with him, like they do in all the movies, which is exactly why a lot of that stuff is fiction. She's not going to magically one day look at you differently. And if she does, you found you a good one, you need to stick with her. I'm with one that did that same thing for me. I was in a friend zone, I got up out of there. I've been out of, my batting average is about 85% getting out the friend zone. But I'm just saying that for me. That other 15, it's cold in that friend zone, boy. So I understand. How have you guys dealt with it? What are your thoughts on this situation? Should he have not shot it? And why I say this,
Okay. So a lot to unpack here, especially with Clayton Thomas commentary. So where do I begin? First of all, I'd love to see them too. Um, but I don't know, and I think that this is where a lot of the communication problems come from. I don't know or if he actually wanted to end the relationship or wanted to go into a romantic relationship with her. Hear me out now, because I don't know the nature of their friendship. Like, they could have casual conversations all the time revolving around things like that, you know? Like, she might throw out a couple of jokes like, "Oh, really? So you got that big one, huh?" She's like, "Yeah, you walking like you got that big one. I see you with those gray sweatpants." They could have conversations like that all the time. And that conversation could lead to, "Oh man, you might as well let me see those." Like, you got them out so much. I mean, you might as well just take the pasties off the nipples and, like, I mean, I see everything else. We don't know the nature of the relationship leading up to that comment. And that doesn't necessarily means that, because for example, I've seen my friends breasts, and we're still friends because it's not a huge deal. I'm not saying that hers weren't huge. They were average size, but it's just it's it's not the beginning and end. It's not like, oh, I want to marry these girls. Like, no, she has nice breasts and you want to see them. Like, I could see something like that being said and coming up in a conversation to where, I just got them done and they're spectacular. Like, oh really? Let me see them. You might as well let me see them. I'm like, I seen them when they were flat A's. Like, so there's this assumption that that and there's a lot of assumptions, like, because there's this trope, and this trope didn't exist. And that's the thing. Okay, so the friend zone always existed, but they were never a common trope that both sides are avoiding, are seeking, depending on the woman. Like, it was never that. It's like, okay, the friend zone exists, like the guy who is doing all these things to a woman who is just disinterested. That has always existed. However, this whole assuming that a guy is in it just because he wants to see a woman with gorgeous breasts and their friends is ridiculous. And that she posted on social media, like, well, I guess he commented on it, or I don't know. And it could be that. It could be that they never met in real life, and he's just like, "Hey, you might as well let me see it." Like, he's just some creep online, and she called it a 12-year friendship because she wants all of her followers to feel like her friends. Who knows? That is just not a conclusion I feel that should be easily jumped to. Now, the women who are quick to, and CT, of course, isn't a woman, the women who are quick to categorize guys in friend zones, in my opinion, they have a very low opinion of themselves, because the only way a guy who's your friend can be a friend zone is if you are of the personality and mindset to take advantage of guys in that way. So yeah, there's a lot going on with it. Okay, so we covered the friend zone. Now I'm going to get to, well, in a moment I'm going to get to the online aspect of it. But right before this video, right before I started watching this video, I seen something else from JR Wisdom, and we're going to talk about how women view friendship versus how men view friendship. So
let a man use me with a capital N. Never let a man use me. Let me tell you something. I am. If you ever tell me your problem, I am gonna act as if I just heard the worst news ever. What are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? And I'm gonna seem so like, oh my God, like distraught, like damsel in distress, like, oh, what are you gonna do about it? It's never gonna be what are we gonna do about it? It's never gonna be, oh my God, I can help you. Oh my God, what do you need from me? Never. It's always gonna be, what are you gonna do about it? When you make yourself seem useless, you cannot help anybody, the mooches leave. And you're giving that man the ability to be the big dog in the situation, and he can handle himself, because men don't need our help. They don't need our help. This world was meant for men to thrive. If a man needs your help, run. Literally run. If a man needs your help, run. A man does not need a woman's help. This world is a man's world. We just got our rights 50 years ago. How could we ever help a man? We live in a patriarchy. How could we help a man? Men thrive in this world. We have to work twice as hard to just be half as good. And men, this is your world. Why do you need a woman's help? So if a man needs your help, run.
Okay. Um, what you're seeing here is someone who's afraid to be taken advantage of, and I doubt that she has any male friends at all, and likely any female friends, to be perfectly honest with you. And that's because she's afraid to be taken advantage of, and she comes out with all of these weird ideologies. Salute to Theo Waff and the good work he's doing with his classes. So, because she has that mindset, it pushes people away. She's afraid to be taken advantage of. And that's because apparently we live in a society that where one side is always trying to take advantage of the other, and the person being taken advantage of, gets little respect from, potential peers or peers. Now, I want you to put this on the flip side. Well, first of all, I don't really know the type of help she's referring to, or the type of men that she deals with, where she has to go into this whole patriarchy thing, because it's really like small instances where, at least in my life experience, and correct me if I'm wrong, where a man would request like help or aid from a woman, unless he's just like a true dusty. And the fact that she equates, you know complete dustiness with the plurality of men really shows the circle of people that she's around, and that's going to be her perspective. But like a regular guy, average height, average income, average upper body strength, and stuff like that, they're not really going to ask for much. And it's typically something that's means a little bit to you but a lot to him, especially at the time that he's asking. For example, he's somewhere at a vending machine that don't take credit cards, and he's like, "Hey, do you have a dollar bill? Can I trade you? Can I trade you this wrinkled dollar, and versus, so I can have a crisp one, so I can get me a Milky Way?" And she's like, "We have only been free for 50 years. This is a patriarchy. This is your world." Like, okay, I'll just go to the store. It's stuff like that. Like, you don't she's so far off, like, like the basic little stuff that regular people would ask for, and like sparsely, they will sparsely ask for it. Like, I got into a car accident near your house. Could the insurance company is already here? Could you pick me up? Because I don't want to have to spend so much on an Uber, something like that. Is These are like really basic requests. Now, if he's asking for bail, and I think that that's what you're referring to, I don't know, because you there's no sense of moderation in what you're stating. Um, if he's asking for bail chronically, that's one thing. If he's asking for help with the rent all the time, that's another thing. But I don't think that that's what you're referring to. I think that you're referring to any help or aid whatsoever. So that's her perspective. Now, I'm going to flip this over on the men's side, because of the confusion that's going on with the whole friend zone understanding. And that is, men are just unwilling to do anything, whatsoever for a woman, for fear that, because even if you're not interested in a woman, you still don't want to be labeled as a friend zone. So they don't want to, say, give advice. They don't want to help with a situation where she if the situation was reversed, like if the situation with the car broke down, could you give me a ride, Uber, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or if you work together, it's like, hey, I left my purse at home, could you cover this and I'll pay you back to and I'll get lunch tomorrow. Stuff like that, which is completely natural and normal between two people who are quote unquote friends. It becomes like, oh no, if I buy this, then I'm tricking and I am going to be put in the friend zone. So it's really confused the not only has modern women and their newfound behaviors confused the dating market, it also confused the friendship market, the way people can interact with each other in groups to a ridiculous degree. So, yeah, there is that. All right. Let me read some of your comments and then we'll move forward. All right. I guess I'll start from the top. All right. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. D Ski, Ray, down with Droopy D, Midwest. Salute, salute, salute. Let's see. Big difference between true friendship and friend zone. Absolutely. Well, I explained that to it, but there's still confusion because now it's a trope to avoid. Okay. Pass man. I staying to tricking, sticking. You're sticking to tricking. All right. Let's see. He's lying cap. Which he you're talking about? You're talking about the Clayton. Well, the Clayton Thomas thing, I really wasn't getting what he was saying because he was giving the advice of, friendship never leads to, anything substantial. Well, it did with me and it does with me 85% of the time, but that 15%, it's like, wait a minute, you're saying that you have a 85% success rate in the friend zone and you're saying that you shouldn't do it? So I didn't get what he was, and trust me, I'm not recommending the friend zone because he claims to have had 85% success rate in it. I'm just saying you're coming off weird. I didn't get it. All right. It says, I make it clear in the beginning that I am not friends with women I am not smashing. Um, okay, that cuts a lot of BS off. Well, first of all, of all my female friends, I remember how I was talking about the stray instance where I'll catch them in a good light and be like, "Oh man, I bet you she got that good." With friends, very few of my female friends who are friends would fit in that category, like ever. Like I never even seen, and it's not because I have developed such a strong connection to them that I am incapable of sexualizing them. The truth of the matter is that they simply aren't that attractive, and that's the cold hard truth of it. In fact, that's likely the reason why they became friends to begin with. Like I didn't have that attraction towards them, and perhaps them me. So, and that's another thing. Like, I mean, I don't look at relationship where there's mutual or singular lack of attraction as friend zone. I don't, because there are going to be situations where you know this woman is extraordinarily attractive and he's attracted to her, but they're still friends. It's because it doesn't meet that third criteria, and that is she's taking advantage of him. Now, I guess the question is if the friendship is based solely on their attraction, his attraction to her. I guess that would be a factor, but there would also mean that she would have to be taking advantage of him for that to be the friend zone. And that's not the case. I'm pretty sure attractive women have friends, you know. All right. Women won't be interested in most men. Okay. Being formers, huh? I don't know what that means. Being friends should be good enough. Well, once again, it depends on if she's trying to take advantage of him. And of course, there are relationships where there's mutual disinterest. She was never his friend. That is, I mean, for a 12-year friendship to end it on something that appeared to be a joke. And once again, I'm not sure of the nature of their friendship prior to that, if she was making great sweatpants remarks prior to that, or, if they made sexual jokes, you know, um, prior to that. But yeah, it's like, okay, it was a joke that didn't hit, and we're not friends anymore after 12 years. It's like, oh, okay. So yes, if that's the case, if they're one bad joke away, then yeah, yeah, she wasn't interested in it. Men always have ulterior motives. Um, Once again, it's not really set like that. A guy who has straight sexual thoughts about women, that's not an ulterior motive. It's not okay. So there's this movie with Seth Rogen, called, I don't know, two people, like someone and someone makes a corno, and y'all know what I mean by corno. Somebody tell me in the chat room what's the name of that video or movie. And basically this was his friend of so many years, and because of money problems they decided to make a corn video. Very stupid premise of a movie. And then she's like, oh, so this is you finally wanted to get some. He's like, really? So I have maintained this friendship for over 20 years. We've been roommates, and also I can fake this poverty. So, we can agree to do a corn video just so I can have the opportunity to smash. Doesn't really make sense when you put it like that. But he did wind up with her at the end of the movie, so there had to have been some physical attraction there. But just that doesn't mean that he entered the friendship with the motivation for that and sustained it, hoping that one day that will happen. It's possible, but that's not always the case, as you were saying when you said men always have that particular interior motive. Okay, so her skin is perfection. No, it's not. It's complete and total trash. She's wearing makeup, and you know it too. Um, which really makes me curious about your skin quality, because you're basically complimenting the quality of a woman's skin by not her skin, by her makeup. So yeah, like kind of like if I was to say Ron Wills is in shape, it would really, you would begin to question, my physique. We're on the same page, sister. Oh, okay, I forget what page she was on, to be honest with you. All right, really game changer. We had full rights 80 years ago. Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. Well, basically, when women complain about the patriarchy and saying that the patriarchy is, more powerful than it is, what they're doing is that they're just asking society for more feminism, and they're trying to justify the need for more feminism. The same as when men, or black people, I should say, both men and women, say talk about oppression, because really they just want more benefits. They want things to counteract the perceived perception, or excuse me, perceived oppression that they're putting out there. Like, we need reparations because this happened, because this woman got kicked out of a restaurant. Okay, she is terrible human. Period. Bad friends, sister, niece, daughter, coworker, Lord forbid, wife. Yeah, she is a bad person to not only have that belief, which is based on very unique life experiences, but to try to spread it is ridiculous. The patriarchy exists. I know it allows you to spew your nonsense because it believes in the well-being of all people under it. Yes, the world is governed by men. That's why it works so damn well. What has feminists ever done for men and children? And I can tell you what the patriarchy has. All right. Neil Moses says, I think it's worse in the church with the friend zone. Yeah, I think the church falls into a different category because, okay, okay. Um, and this isn't coming from somebody who frequents church, but the way the church used to work, let's start there. The way the church used to work was it was a automatic. If you ask if you ask 100 people, where did you meet your husband or wife? They will like 90% will say, I met them at church. That used to be the thing. That used to be the place to go to meet people, was church. Whose worldviews were aligned with yours, and relationship views were aligned with yours. But that was true when people went to church at a very young age, and they didn't have people who had a break in church and then come back later and like, okay, I'm going to, because that's what happened. And we're going to talk about the woman's side. So, you have the women who maybe her mother and father, you know, put her in church, like church, 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 church. And then come 18, she went to college and she's on some girls gone wild stuff, had a couple of dorm party, munched a couple of carpets. And then from there, she's like, okay. Um, she stopped going to church for a long time, and even longer, like, in her late 20s, she popped out a couple of babies out of wedlock, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then somewhere in the mid 30s, she's like, okay, I want to find a man, so I'm going to go back to church. And the church became saturated with those people, who postponed the church principles to they needed them to get what they want from it. But that's a segue. And how that works in the friend zone is that, and this is what is disappointing a lot of women, is that you don't just shoot your shot at church. Like, you see somebody Sunday, and it's like, hey, you want to get together after church, or you want to get together next week, and blah 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 before church. No, it's a process, and this is a process that take years that, quite frankly, the women don't have. So you'll have a woman 35 years old, like, hey, I'm a church woman, you're a church man, so let's get together and you know and talk outside of church. He's like, oh no, sister, how about we just meet at Bible study, and then we'll go from there. It's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, so I'm going to be at the orphanage next week, if you want to come. And you're not actually dating the person, you're actually just going to various church functions together, making sure that you show up at various church functions at the same time. That's how they court. This is a very long procedure. It's always been like that, by the way. But it's a very long procedure that women who start late should not engage in, because you're out of time and you're out of eggs. All right. Curious question. What are your thoughts being in serious relationships and your lady has many single male friends, though? Okay. So I believe that that's something that I leave to the individual man in the circumstance. With my female friends who are single, I am understanding that our relationship is based on that. I'm sorry, our relationship could end at any time, our friendship could end at any time, and I would actually be happy when it does. Meaning that one day she could find a guy, especially if she's pick me or submissive, she'll find a guy who will say, you know something, I'm going to need you to cancel all of your friendships, all of your male friends. I'm going to need so if I get ghosted by a female friend, I really look at it like that's must have been what happened. And I'm perfectly okay with that. Um so well, I'm speaking from the male friend perspective. From the guy who's in a relationship with her, that's totally up to him. And that's totally up to his perception of her and his perception of her friends. So I wish I had advice for you. I don't really give relationship advice, but I would just say use your best judgment, and you won't be judged by me for what you choose to do in that situation. Okay, most men and women are associates, never really never really knowing what it means to be friends. Well, I think the word associates really is just a word to kind of compartmentalize people and to rank your relationships and your status relative to a person who is your associate. Um, I think that is okay. Put it like this: I think that the word associate is really a way to say to everyone, this person is not good enough to be my friend. I'm up here, and I only put people on this level into my friendship circle, and the vast majority of people aren't worthy, so they're associates. That's what that gives to me. It's just wordplay. Um, I really don't engage in such wordplay. If somebody who I consider associate says they're my friend, I'll say, "Oh, okay, we're friends," because it really don't matter. Like there's no difference. I don't need, I don't really need to draw the line between associate and friends. Maybe it's because I'm older. I don't care. Or maybe it's because I have a childlike mindset to where, you meet a kid on the playground and you bounce the basketball back and forth a bit, and that's your friend. Maybe I just never left that mindset. I don't know. Um, if anyone has ever seen Berserk, I haven't. All right. I think a lot of these dudes were hit by the brand of was the sacrifice. I haven't seen it, so I couldn't really respond properly. Sorry about that, Ray. Most churchgoers have different motives. Okay. I can understand that. It's because church girls have built-in excuse not to give you any. If she real, it should be headed for marriage quickly, or she's taking advantage. Well, um, take someone who's like Shay Sade, right? Shay Sade did the church thing. And I don't know if she met her dude in church, but she was a church woman, like consistently throughout her life. So if you are a church man, then well, if you're any man that's heterosexual, you should look for a woman like Shay Sade. But um, if you are a church man, I'm pretty sure that's the pattern that you would look for. Like she's about that life for real. She's not a faker. She's not like a convert from the street. She's not a resurrected, destitute. She's about that life for real. She didn't find Jesus. She was born into it. Like Bane said, you just discovered the darkness. He said, I've lived in it. All right. The amount of ex hot girls and street dudes in church is laughable. Really? I didn't know the street dudes were there too. Um, they do old school counting to to examine character faithfulness. It even involves chaperones and older women. Yeah, depending on your denomination of Christianity or what religion you are. Absolutely. Associate is women talk, and it usually refers to other women, and they don't want to. Yeah, exactly. I don't really play those games. It's like, I mean, I really don't see a need to make the distinction between friend and associate. I really don't. Like, oh no, no, that's an associate. But yeah, women do, because status is very important to them. They do have a tendency to do that. Take the movie, I think it's the Phantom Menace. No, not the Phantom Menace. What was the second one? Episode 2, Star Wars Episode 2, where Padme and Anakin were together, and he introduced himself. Yeah, like, yes, I'm Anakin. I'm a Jedi. She's just like, no, actually, he's a Padawan learner. He's like, listen, this is what he should have said. Like, listen, I'm telekinetic. I can choke you with my brain. I can take out my saber and take out a whole village full of warriors, women and children. So when I say I'm a Jedi, shut up. That's what he should have said. Like, but they need to make that distinction. No, he's not a Jedi. He's a Padawan learner. So yeah. All right, moving on. So we're gonna cover the internet aspect of it, and then we'll get into the main event. So
after the age of 30.
I got another match. I sent a match request the other day to Gabby, and just as a reminder, I said, my dad called me gay today. I need to prove him wrong. Could you fight him for me? She responded, are you sure he was wrong? Kind of rude. So I said, yes, I'm sure, Gabby. It was one time in college. So are you going to fight my dad with your big, strong muscles or not? Yeah, she blocked me. And this is Rachel. I said, what up, finish shoddy? What if I...
okay. Um, that's a very weird thing to say. And it was followed by a very rude thing to say, which tells me that this chick was online just to be rude. Now, and when I say weird, I don't really think that that's a poor reflection on him. I think that he's either trolling, or that's just his style of humor. Or it would make more sense if we got the full context of the conversation. I will say this: it is extraordinarily hard to break the ice, because you actually have to say something that they haven't heard before or read before from thousands of other people. Hey, how you doing? Where you from? Stuff like that. Like, so if you want to break the ice, you gotta, say something that they haven't heard before, and hopefully, it's funny. And to the woman that it does work on in his case, which would probably be very few, but nevertheless they exist. Then that's a strong connection, because you came with something unique and that she appreciated. However, she matched just to give a smart aleck remark. Like, are you sure he's wrong? Well, nobody knows better than me if I like what I like. He could have replied with, well, let's test it and find out. Just saying.
told you I have a Costco membership card. Then gave a little, you know what I'm saying? No match. Next we have Sana. I said if we were dating, I'd push you in. No match. Then we have Grace. I said I'd literally destroy you in a water balloon fight. No match. And last we have Danny. I said, so when are you taking me out and treating me like a princess? No
At
match.
this point, he just
What
trolling
happened to men
them.
pursuing girl?
Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover there. Um, Listen, and I wanted to type this in her comment section, but I didn't get a chance to. This is what I have against. And by the way, he is a byproduct of everything. He's a byproduct of what's going on dating apps, to where, he's like, okay, I know that these women are not actually here seriously looking for dates, so I am just going to go on and troll. Now, it's unfortunate that the women are going to take it seriously and they're going to go to their social media like, these guys, this guy actually just offered me to go to Costco, and this guy wanted to be treated like a princess. He's trolling, he's joking, to build his social media. So the whole online dating process and procedure is not to be taken seriously. And it has not been taken seriously by either side for a very long time, which is why I recommend that, it's if you're serious about relationships, then it's better to not do stuff like that. Let me read some more of your comments. Thank you. Somebody answered for me. Zach and Minnie. Thank you. Okay, so I read that one. All right, let's see. I troll on dating apps. It works more than it doesn't. Well, depends on what you mean. Works, like, I mean, do you entertain yourself? Then yeah, I can see that working. Do you get anywhere with the women? I doubt it. And this isn't me, judging you or saying that there's anything wrong with you, but I'm saying that the women there aren't really taking it seriously. And you're not taking it seriously either. That's why you're trolling. So, like, yeah, I don't think that it leads to anything. It's like, oh, that was such a successful troll. I'm gonna get on my knees now. Like, I don't think that happens. If that's your definition of works. Just saying. All right, so on to the main event. But this is, well, once again, this is why I don't recommend that guys do it, because I mean, he's doing it, but he's not taking it seriously. It's like, listen, you're just going there to feed the egos. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He had more to say. I clicked it by accident and he had more to say. So I'm going to go back and I'll get some of Chantel's commentary on it.
No match.
When he just trolling them.
I'm pursuing girl.
We're dropping 2026 strats. I think you'd love my boy. Please match. No match. Next strat I used on Claire. I said, Claire, I'm going to level with you. I'm straight. Sorry to disappoint.
That's funny.
No match.
No
I have
match.
to call this one the aggressor. This is Amanda. I said, I'd fight all of your exes for you, Scott Pilgrim style. No match. Last strat I used on Frida. I just said, what's up, bro? Trying to make her feel like one of the boys. I think that's going to be a big
No
one in
match.
2026. But we'll see. No match.
Wait a minute. Somebody let me know, because once again, I don't really do stuff like that. So, um, is this a dating app or is this like Instagram or Tinder or something like that? Because it has like this heart thing here with a number underneath. So tell me if y'all recognize the app or website that he's using. Because yeah, let me know. I'm curious about that.
I have a question for men. I feel like a lot of men are no longer interested in dating. They gave up on dating. They're not even trying. Why do you guys think that is the case?
I mean, honestly,
Okay. So it's TikTok, somebody said. I would not have played it if I known that it was TikTok. I wouldn't have wasted the video. And salute to Chantel. So I wouldn't have wasted the video because I thought that this was dating. Like, the women are coming to dating apps to not date. I wanted to actually drive that point home. and that they're not taking it seriously. But this is TikTok. They're not there to date. They're there to get attention from men, without selling the possibility of getting something in return for the man. So completely different premise. I'm gonna move. Well, let's see what Chantel has to say. Then I'll move on.
She asked, why do you guys think that's the case? I think it's feminism. I think women are expecting men to jump through way too many hoops. Like it's really not that serious. It's really the first one when she was like, "Oh, are you sure he's not?" That was kind of rude. Obviously, you guys are on a dating app and he's trying to break the ice. So when you're like, "Oh, are you sure he was wrong?" That was a little rude, but also
Yeah, the whole premise goes away. I get what Chantel is saying, and that's true. But this is not. According to you guys, this is like an Instagram reel. That's not. Yeah, the whole point of dating app is, but they're not on a dating app. So the whole point of Instagram, I guess, is saying slick crap back to each, back and forth to each other. Like, yeah.
also too, maybe that's her sense of humor. Dating sucks, y'all. Dating sucks because y'all have women how to approach. If you say hi, you're too nice. If you post a joke, you're too corny. If you're too serious, you're too serious. If it's like, what do you do? Let's read the comments on this. Somebody said women complain that there's not enough men trying, so they can reject them for their ego. Exactly, as I said earlier.
Okay, I get it. So I really have to take this conversation in a completely different direction, because I was on board with what the comment section was saying and what Chantel was saying. But these are not those women. These are women who are just on Instagram. Now, if their Instagram or TikTok or whatever title is saying, "Why can't I find a man?" then that's one thing. That's a whole nother thing. But you can't really put the stigma on, you're looking for a man but you're shooting down men. That's same. You can't really put that on them. They're just on Instagram. So yeah. All right. Shout out to Chantel Simone. Let me move past that. All right. So, and now we come to our main event. Hit the like button. All right. Meaning I've met these women in person and smashed them, versus more cordial approach I used to have. Okay. Um, I'm skeptical, but okay. Um, I'm not up there as much as I was back in the summer. Okay. All right. Well, if it works, it works. They're on Hinge. Okay. I'm confused. Where are they? Because y'all do understand where this is going. Like the tone of this conversation could go either way, and that is, are they on a dating app or are they on a social media app? Because if they're on a dating app, this is evidence of something. If they're on a social media app, this is evidence of nothing. I don't use Hinge. So, well, okay. Is Hinge so screwed up that it tells the people who are trying to date you the number of likes they got? Why would they get likes? They should just get guys trying to date them. Like, why are you counting likes on that? Like, ooh, I like her. Like, of course you like her, then you date her because it's a dating app, or you attempt to. Like, why in the world would you go on a dating app and heart somebody's picture and not date them? Okay, that's weird. He's reacting to dating app interactions versus via IG. But is it her IG? I'm confused. I don't do this stuff for the reasons that I just stated, and I'm going to state, like, in the future. I don't do this stuff. I don't send Instagram likes because of bikinis and stuff like that. I do not do this stuff. So y'all got to help me out. Like, I don't know what that is. All right, let's see. Dating apps are for the desperate. I don't know if I'd say that on either men or women. I don't really know if I would put the label desperate on either party, especially not the men. And here's why. Here's why. Because desperate people tend to do more. Dating apps is designed for convenience. I'm going to repeat that. Desperate people tend to do more. Dating app is designed for convenience. So like a person who becomes a stalker or is out serenading his junior high school sweetheart, you would say that that person is desperate. But a person who swipes in the right direction, I wouldn't call them desperate. Now, it's interesting that you should say this because there is something to be said about the mentality of a person who goes out and to an environment where the women think that he is desperate and still attempt to pursue in that arena. And that's why I'm against it, really. Y'all are desperate. You're talking about D? I mean, he said that's successful for him, so I don't know if that would make him desperate. On Hinge, but he's posting the results to IG. Okay, okay, got it. That's just my experience. I don't see the point of lying. Okay. And that's another thing. Actually, oh, okay. No, that's not true. Never mind. It says, yes, that is dating site, and he's posting results on social media. Okay, so yeah, that's what's going on. So, my bad. What Chantel was saying stands. The hearts and stuff that I've seen was actually hearts for his post on his social media site, and Chantel recorded it. All right. So scratch what I said and what he's saying, and it is an exercise in fertility, and it's not to be taken seriously. So, I'm not saying don't do it in general, but I'm saying like, you would be exhausting your time and energy and other things that I'm going to get into later in the video. As a man, if you go through with this, because you're dealing with people who are not taking it seriously. And if you're a woman who are looking for a man seriously, you're dealing with men who go to places where women don't take things seriously. I mean, I don't really see anything different than this and the Pop the Balloon show, except that it's not public. But you're still going through a very similar ritual. Like the mindset is you're going through a very similar ritual with very little possibility of return, all designed to feed the woman's ego. Why would a man participate in that? And the women who get with a guy, they get disappointed. Like, well, he is a guy that participates in this type of, he is a pop the balloon guy, just in private. He most certainly isn't a passport bro. All right. I don't do it anymore, but I'm familiar. Okay, fair enough. Dating is cooked, just keep pushing. All right, fair enough. Um, most of the some I know I met in person, especially. Okay, I get it. That avatar is wild. All right. GC exactly. Yes, laugh my ass off. It's a very same format. Well, I mean, no matter what, because and I know women could say, yeah, but I'm not like that. Well, it's like, yes, there are women on the Pop the Balloon show who don't go on there to pop the balloon, but the guys are going on there just to be played with. So yeah. Like you're going on this show to be played with. The Pop the Balloon is basically IRL dating app format. I agree. With the, except the cathartic feeling that the woman gets when she pops the balloon is amplified by the popping sound and by the fact that it's done in front of thousands, perhaps millions of people. So that whole lady boner that they get when, they reject you simply by swiping left is magnetized like a thousandfold because it's done on there. All right, now y'all giving advice on how to online date. All right. Y'all missing the whole point of this. All right. The only ones that want to date are boss babes, single moms, and bad body builds. I don't even think they want to. They just want you to want to date them. All right. So, um,
the woman, like, you don't see men holding doors anymore. They don't help anymore. They rush and sit down on trains and buses before women and pregnant women and elderly are sitting down.
Where are all the good men?
Where are all the good men?
Where did all the good men go?
I'm tired of being alone. I want to share my life with someone. I am just freaking tired. I want to be in love. I want to share my life with someone. I want to feel the joys. I want to feel my hands held. I want to be held. I want to kiss. I want to support. I want to make coffee with that person. I want my person. I want my person. Why is it so hard to find your person?
Why don't men approach anymore? Why can't I get 4 guys?
okay. She asked a valid question. Um, and the answer is complicated. That's why it takes a channel to explain it. But really, because there's so many bad actors on both sides, there isn't an avenue that you can create for decent people to get together without the bad actors infiltrating it. For example, church. Like church used to be a decent place, but then, um, you have players and you have, like anybody can go. So they infiltrate it. And then, two good people can't find each other between all the, PIMPs and 304s. They really can't. It's too much noise in the dating market. And everywhere you can think to go to date, the bad actors have already, saturated that place and made it very difficult. So that's why she can't find one. And it is possible that she's a bad actor herself.
To help me move a slab. And here's what's fascinating. The men these women are looking for, they didn't disappear. They didn't die. They didn't move to another country. They just left quietly, without announcement, without bitterness, without even a goodbye. And still now, some women are standing in empty rooms wondering where everyone went. The friend zone isn't closed for business, it's been abandoned. And the men who left, they're not coming back. Let's talk about what really happened. This for sure was not a movement. There was no hashtag, no viral protests, no collective announcements. Men just started making different choices, one by one, individually, in silence. And the data tells the story. 28% of single men have stopped actively looking for romantic relationships. That's up from 18% just 5 years ago. Think about that for a second. In half a decade, the number of men who have simply opted out has jumped from 10%. That's not a trend, that's a shift. 41% of men between 18 and 34 have taken deliberate breaks from dating lasting 6 months or longer. Not breaks because they couldn't find anyone. Deliberate breaks. Chosen. Intentional. 31% of men now describe themselves as voluntarily single. Not rejected, not
Okay. These are some very interesting stats that she's pulling. Um, and she's like Media Man with better tits and a voice that just lulls you to sleep. So, but yeah, yeah, like all of that. Um, 28% have opted out. And this is just like within the last 4 years. It seems like they have been opting out for quite some time. And I noticed this so years ago, and I was like, wow, it's that bad. First of all, I noticed it in my family with the young men. They're just not as enthusiastic to go out and look for that box as I was at that age. So I get it. Um, in fact, if I had to venture, I would say that it's probably more than 28%, like a lot more. Okay, so I think that there's categories. I think that there are the men, and this is what the 28% are, that's like, listen, I'm not going to date. And then there is a larger cohort of men who are not actively seeking but open to the opportunity. And I think that that's the lion's share. And I think that the rest are the ones who are hollering at everything that they see in a skirt or jeans or leggings or sweatpants. Like they're just pretty much trying to get at anything that they can. I do think that it's an epidemic, and that's because the dating market is just downright frustrating for men.
struggling voluntarily by choice. Dating app usage among men under 30 has dropped 20% since 2020. 20% in 4 years. And maybe the most telling number of all, 44% of Gen Z men report having zero relationship experience during their entire teenage years. Compare that to only 20% of baby boomers. That's an entire generation of young men who looked at what dating has become and decided it wasn't worth entering in the first place.
How long did you say you guys have been friends?
10 years.
10 years.
Wait, what?
Yeah. In that time period, have you never had feelings for each other?
No, like he's been just such a great friend.
Oh, really?
So like I couldn't like see the other side.
True,
of it,
and
if
yeah,
that
that's
makes
pretty
sense.
true. That's true, and yeah, that's true.
And here's what makes it different from any other time.
Okay, so that's where the friend zone topic that I was touching on before. A question is he in the friend zone? It's hard to say, given the criteria that I laid out for the friend zone. One, that she's taking advantage of him, and she has nefarious intent. Two, um, he's interested in her, and she's not interested in him. So, of the three criterias that I laid out for friend zone, I would say that we only know one for certain. Don't actually know if he's even single or if he's interested in her that way. And now, if he is, and of course, there's levels of interest. If he is, and she knows it, then yes, this would be the friend zone because the two of you are out, meaning that he is doing, and whether he's paying or not, that's he is entertaining you. You are having date night with him. Now, it could be like to his benefit because it's easier for him to, if he sees someone who's interested in, having a female friend there who is prettier than he is handsome would work to his advantage. He's not just sitting alone at a bar or at a club or something, just approaching chicks. He's there with a female friend, um, and he's approaching another female. That does up his chances in that regard. So once again, we don't know what's going on in this particular setting.
In history. These men aren't bitter about it. They're not angry. They're not protesting. They just made a calculation, weighed against the benefits, and they walked away. This isn't a blip. This is a generational shift. And the friend zone, that was just the first domino to fall. Let's be honest about what the friend zone always was. It was a holding pattern, a waiting room, a place where men invested time, their energy, their money, and emotional labor into someone who had already decided they weren't good enough to date, but were too useful to let go. And for a long time, men accepted this because
Okay. Very accurate definition. If and only if she is not useful to him and he's spending an abundance of time, money, resources, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, into the situation. Like if she calls you every night and, wah, 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 she talking to me like I'm done, you know, then yeah, you are doing that. But if it's something that, either of y'all talk to like once every 3 to 6 months or something like that, and it's like, well, is he really spending that much time, energy, and effort into it? Like, could you really classify that as a friend zone? Okay, so let's just go to an extreme opposite end and to a guy that's spending very little of time, he's spending very little energy and resources, right? And I'm talking about, you know, every now, like once a year, he sends a happy birthday text or includes her in a group Merry Christmas text that he blurts out to his mama and everybody once a year. And that is the duration of it. And then, later in life, she decides to cash in on her friend zone. And it's like, okay, well, we've been together, we've been quote unquote friends for 10 years. And I have sent 20 text messages. And now my penis is in her mouth. So yeah, yeah, okay. I don't really know if he lost in that situation. But yeah, if he's putting in like daily or weekly or just regular effort, you know, I would say that the effort doesn't exceed the reward in that particular instance.
society told them to. Just be patient.
And then there's also, and I forgot to touch on this more. There's also the benefit that for one, he might actually like her as a friend. So if he's benefiting equally from the friendship, then I wouldn't necessarily call that a friend zone. Take her for example, right? Take her for example. Um, say if she was my friend and I called every day at let's just say 9 PST, right? Let's just assume that she is not in California but same time zone. On the surface, it would seem like I'm in the friend zone because if she let me hit it, I'd hit it, and I call every day. But what if I was getting something from it too? And what if I called every day at 9 p.m. because I really just needed to go to sleep and listen to her voice? Like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. So, I want you to just tell me about your day, and I'm going to like watch a a movie of kittens playing with babies, and I'm gonna go to sleep to your voice. Like that would be something. And of course, I'd be a hyperbolic, but she does have like a relaxing voice. So that label kind of confuses everything.
Be a good friend. Maybe she might come around. But here's what no one talked about: the transaction was never equal. I saw a video recently, a woman crying on camera because her male best friend cut her off because he got a girlfriend. She listed everything he did for her, moved her across the
Mm.
country, drove her to medical appointments, rented her a car when hers got
Wait, what?
totaled,
Wait, hold on, hold on.
helped her find he
Wait,
did for
wait,
her,
wait. This might not be
moved
her
her to a
voice. I
video
heard something
recently.
strange. Hold on.
Maybe she might come around. But here's what no one talked about: the transaction was never equal. I saw a video recently, a woman crying on camera because her male best friend cut her off because he got a girlfriend. She listed everything he did for her, moved her across the country, drove her to medical appointments.
Did y'all hear that? She said medical appointments, but it sounded funny. Now I'm skeptical. Now I'm wondering if this is her real voice or if this is a very, very, very relaxing sounding, you know, like AI or, voice simulator device or something like that. And it just glitched just now. Let me hear that again.
Best friend cut her off because he got a girlfriend. She listed everything he did for her, moved her across the country, drove her to medical appointments,
I'm gonna take that with a grain of salt for now.
rented her a car when hers got totaled, helped her financially through hard times, was even there for her kids. And you know what was missing from the
That is doing a lot. That is doing a lot. All right.
entire video? A single sentence about what she did for him.
Good
Not
point.
one thing. She spent 10 minutes listing his contribution to her life and never not once mentioned her contribution to his because there weren't any. That was the arrangement. And she didn't even realize how one sided it was until he walked away. One comment on that video put it perfectly. Quote, she listed everything he did for her. She never listed what she did for him. That's not friendship. That's a dynamic that only works in one direction. And men have finally done the math. Now, I'm not going to pretend there was one single moment that caused all of this. But if I had to point to a cultural turning point, a lot of men would tell you it was the bear. Earlier this year, a question went viral.
Hold on. Before we get into this, it doesn't matter what she's saying is real. It does matter because I like her voice. No, it doesn't take away from, what she's saying, but it would take away from the secondary thing of I like her voice. These are two completely different things. It's kind of like she's saying the right thing and I like her hair. But if her hair is a wig, it's like, okay, she's still saying the right thing and she's wearing a wig. So it matters. It just matters for a different reason other than what she's saying. It would not take away from what she's saying, but it would take away from her voice.
Would you rather be alone in the woods with a random man or a bear? And overwhelmingly, women chose the bear. I understand the fear that prompted those answers. That's a real conversation worth having. But
Well, it's not necessarily fear because an intelligent person would fear a bear more. What it is it's really just women's society trying to push this hatred towards men and women receiving it and embracing it. They wouldn't actually choose a bear. However, they want to tell men that we think you are worse than a bear. It's easy to say, "What would you do?" Online, but oh, really? Really? And then, they actually put you in the situation with the bear. Case in point. And once again, this is just, trying to get men to feel like they're less than and that, women are justified in hating and mistrusting you. So we need you to do better. No, I ain't got to do shit for you. Yeah, exactly. It's rage bait, which really means, that they have very few seductive tools at their disposal. Sucks to be them.
Here's what got lost in the discourse. A lot of good men heard that and thought, okay, message received. They didn't argue. They didn't defend themselves. They just noted it and adjusted accordingly. So now, when some women can't get help moving furniture, when they're wondering why no one approaches anymore, the callback writes itself. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough.
Okay, somebody bring up a good point. Women were obviously trolling with the bear thing. Obviously, now it says something that their first instinct is to troll, but that's why you didn't really see me respond to it because I know what troll was. I know that if actually given that circumstance, you would actually you know not choose a bear. How come every time I tell you to be smarter when you comment, you still say stuff like this? At least you know what a bear wants. You know what a man wants. Stop being stupid. You're a 30-year-old woman talking about, I don't know what a man wants. You're stupid.
The friend zone wasn't just emotional draining for men, it was psychologically damaging. Studies show that after 3 months of using dating apps, men reported a 27% increase in feelings of loneliness.
You can never know what a human male wants. Once again, stupid. Your parents had to have been like twin brother and sister to come with such stupidity. To After 30 years, you haven't figured out what men want? Fuck is wrong with you? How do you not realize it? Jesus.
And a 39% decrease in self esteem. 3 months.
Fucking
Now
Lannisters.
imagine years of being someone's emotional support, financial backup, and on call handyman while being told, oh, you're like a brother. That does something to a person. It teaches him that his value is conditional, that he's only worth something when he's useful, that his presence matters, but his feelings don't. And for the longest time, men just absorbed it because they were told that's what good men do. They stick around, they prove themselves, they wait. But waiting for someone who has already decided you're not enough, that's not patience. That's self abandonment. And the friend zone operated on one brutal principle. He was good enough for everything except being chosen. Good enough to fix her car, but not to hold her hand. Good enough to listen to her problems at 2 a.m., but not to wake up next to her.
I had this.
Once again, with you, I listen to your problems at 2 a.m. And it's not because I have like once again, there's levels of attraction. And it's not like I have like an overwhelming level of attraction to where um I'm listening to you at 2 a.m. hoping that this would get me closer to your badge. If I were listening to you at 2 a.m., I would do it and have the best night's sleep ever. Like real talk. If for whatever reason I have trouble sleeping at 2 a.m. and you call and like, I have this problem, tell me about your day. I'm like, oh hell yeah. Hell yeah. This is better than the lullaby. This is the like perfect. Tell me all about it. Am I paying attention? No, because I'm asleep. You're on speakerphone, pouring your heart out to me sleeping. And I got the mute button on so you don't hear me snore. But that's exactly what's going on. Like, oh, I'm having so many problems and someone please call like uh-huh, uh-huh. And yeah, that would be a gift. All right, it says oh, I appreciate the cash app. Like, thanks for calling that 30-year-old woman out. Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, age aside, I mean, like like oh, they have ulterior motives. It's not ulterior. You know exactly what motivates men. Stop pretending. It's really you that's being, disingenuous, who have an ulterior motive. It's really you. If a zebra says to a lion, I don't know what you want, then that zebra is stupid. Like what the hell? Or gaslighting, or just being just downright deceptive. I don't know what you want.
This one guy in New York. We were friends for 20 years, never touched him, nothing. And he was like my therapist. Every time something went wrong, I would call him and he just knew what to say to me, like to calm me down. And like we could talk for hours, but I wasn't physically attracted to him at all. Like I would never see myself having sex with him, but he was like my therapist. Like I could talk to him every day, all day.
Good enough to be there when her actual boyfriend let her down.
Okay, so this probably was a friend zone situation because we know that at least, well, we know that it has one factor, and that is she has no respect for him and she's trying to use him. So we know that that's the aspect that's going on. If he has a desire towards her, oh well, there's two. She don't have a desire towards him. If he has a desire towards her, like a strong desire, and the reason that he is listening to her problems and working on that is based solely on his attraction towards her, then yes, this is a friend zone situation. So two of the three we know about. The third is a possibility.
But never good enough to be the boyfriend. Good enough to move her across the country, but not good enough to build a life with. And at some point, men realized the game was rigged, so they stopped playing. So if men left the friend zone, where did they go?
Okay. And here's where things get murky because I follow this philosophy. I like doing stuff. And because the friend zone exists and it's a bad thing and men don't want to be with it, be looked at as being in the friend zone, it makes them not want to do stuff that they just do. A woman, old, young, pretty, ugly, or something like that, say, hey, could you get this off the top shelf for me? Sure. Now she may be so twisted to be like, yeah, this nigga want this pussy or something like that. And, or she might be on that, but that is her problem. That is her situation. And like, I tutor kids. Like y'all heard when my friend was here, you know, um, that I tutor his kids. and others. Um, when I used to do it heavy, sometimes there would be single moms there. I don't really, I wasn't doing it for that. Like now, maybe in their brain, they think I'm in the friend zone, but no, I genuinely like doing this, and I'm not going to stop doing it because some conceited broad thinks that I'm in it, that I'm in her friend zone. Because really, it says more about her than it does me. That's her perception of the situation, but it really speaks more about her than me. It says that she's genuinely not a good person, that she takes advantage of people, and that um the only way she can see doing good for somebody is if she gets something in return, making her a trash human being all around. So it's a non-starter, but that's on them. They're not going to stop me from doing the things that I like, and that is helping kids. They're just not. Like this is what I do. Like I made $5 today. Like, on this. This is what I like doing because it helps people. I just have that in me. Yes, some people are going to confuse that with friend zone. Actually, perfect story, right? Because this chick who I was not attracted to at all swore up and down that, like, you could just tell, and my homie picked up on it too, that I was in her friend zone, even though she kept pushing and driving um the relationship that we had, which wasn't actually a relationship. So, and it wasn't a friend zone dynamic either. I mean, I would call her friend, but that's because I give that title to people loosely. I don't go, oh, that person is associate. She's a third level associate. She's a 2-year associate. I don't do stuff like that. So okay, if you think you were friends, we're friends. So years ago, I'm in my 20s, and a woman that I worked with lost her phone, and um, I was like, well, give me your number and I'll call it. She gave me her number and I called it so she could hear it and pick it up. And um I jokingly said, "See, now I got your number." And she was like, "Oh." And yeah, I tell jokes all the time. I thought that was funny, and that was that. And then months later, she's like, "Yeah, you really, worked your way into getting my number." I was like, "Oh, she's serious. She is serious." And then that's when things got weird. Now, keep in mind, I didn't call her. I didn't even save her number. Like, I mean, of course, it's in your phone, and if you go back like months, you'll find it without a label because I didn't put a name on it. But I didn't call. Like, but she just swore that I was trying to get into her panties, and that was my method of doing it, even though I didn't call. So it got weird, and it got weirder. I'm not gonna say what happened like over the years because we worked together for quite some time. But even even though she was the one doing the calling, the texting, and like, hey, could you come with me here and there and blah 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 blah. She was still like, ooh, yeah, you want this. So weird. So weird. Weird. I don't even know what to say about that. Actually, uh and my partner called her crazy too. She came, it was just weird. She didn't have no friends.
This is the part that might surprise you. They didn't become bitter. They didn't join some angry online movement. They didn't sit around complaining. They just redirected themselves. Sociologists are now documenting what they're calling a fundamental shift in how men define success and fulfillment, career development, personal growth, financial stability. These are being prioritized over relationship formation, especially among men in their 20s and their early 30s. Gyms are becoming mental health outlets, not just places to get in.
I'm wondering if that this is a means to an end, kind of like Austin Holloman. I'm wondering if all of this is a means to an end because they see that it's not really feasible to look to try to mate in this pool. So they're going to work real hard, save their coins, and get out this pool. I wish I had like the clips that Chantel Simone had, and then I would have just right there said, "Get to the chopper," but I don't. So, yeah, I could see young men doing this. Like, okay, I'm in this country, and the women that I want don't want me, and the women that want me, I don't want. So I'm going to go to a place where the women I want me. And once again, that's why people leave California. Like, the house that I want, I can't afford. The houses I can't afford, I don't want. I'm gonna move to Oklahoma. I'm gonna move to a place where the real estate is cheap. So yeah, it makes sense.
shape, but places to find community, purpose, and self worth. Men's coaching services and personal development programs are seeing records engagement. Male friendship groups are forming, real ones, not just drinking buddies, but men who actually talk to each other about their lives. One researcher put it this way, quote, "We're seeing a generation of men who are redefining success and fulfillment outside of the traditional framework of marriage and family. And here's what that actually looks like. The guy who used to spend his weekend waiting by his phone hoping she texts back, he's in the gym now, or building a side business, or learning a skill that actually makes him feel competent. The energy that used to go towards chasing approval from someone else who wasn't even interested, it's now going towards becoming someone he respects. Because here's the truth no one wants to say out.
Oh, she killed it with that. She killed it with that. And you're not gonna be that dude online swiping for tits. You're just not. I mean, don't get me wrong. A good dude could like his first day, like, okay, let me try online dating, and he just finds like the right one that day. But James, if a dude's been swiping for a long time and spending a significant amount of time um, doing that, then he don't really value his time and stuff like that. Yeah, it's going to manifest itself in a number of other ways. And I know this because I have friends and family members who online date, and the stories that they tell me really is like, okay, I see like a very consistent pattern of behavior here. And one thing that I notice that's consistent is that the men tend to have a very high valuation of her and a very low valuation of himself. So they do all of these things to try to impress them, and it winds up turning the woman off, especially if she's a pick me because she's trying to impress you. So it's like, you know, and once she realizes that she values you more than you value yourself, the whole shit's over.
15% of men under 30 now report having no close friends at all. That's up from just 3% in 1990. Men are lonely, genuinely lonely. But instead of trying to fill that void by orbiting someone who doesn't want them,
Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna go back to that stat because and I'm not gonna split hairs on the difference between alone and lonely. Um,
actually makes them feel competent. The energy that used to go towards chasing approval from someone else who wasn't even interested, it's now going towards becoming someone he respects. Because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. 15% of men under 30 now report having no close friends at all. That's up from just 3% in 1990.
Okay. So yeah, it's what I suspected. I want to think about, because that stat doesn't seem to have anything to do with relationship interactions. Let's start there. So I'm trying to think of what's the catalyst for that? Because I would assume that men would have more connections with each other, and that's because you hear about the guy who gets married and he don't really hang out with the homies anymore. So in a population where men are marrying more, then there are fewer homies. There's less homie connections, but men are marrying less, and there's less homie connections according to her stat. So I'm curious. I would really have to like review that study and kind of gauge what else was happening at that time, from the 90s, that steadily rose, which is making this a thing. And the only thing I could think of is entertainment technology as it pertains to men. In the 90s, men had 5 channels. Now we have 500. In the 90s, I remember playing 3 games, um, like on Nintendo, a lot. Um, Mike Tyson Punch Out, Mario Brothers 1 and 2. No, no, not Mario Brothers 2. What was it? I think it was Contra or something like. No, Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden. So since then, and I don't play video games anymore, probably for that reason. But video game technology has amplified. It has boomed. It's ridiculous, and it's cheap. So, well, I don't know how much major console systems cost. I know, like, I know that like a cell phone game or something is cheap, because I see them on YouTube, um, where you could just click the YouTube link and you just move your mouse around and you could play it like that. And it's like, oh, this is free. Like in the 90s, that'd cost like a whole Christmas begging to get something like that. So I think that might be in the play. And if y'all don't believe me, listen. I know of guys. First of all, I know guys who do this, and then I know of women who have dated guys who are addicted to video games, which doesn't really leave much room in their life for friends and relationships. I know this for a fact. I know this because one could say that I was addicted to video games. Um, Now I'm not any longer, but when Halo 1 was a thing, I was addicted to video games. And I had to break that addiction, or else I wouldn't have graduated college, and like a lot of stuff would be a lot different for me. Um, but I think that might be what's driving, you know, from 3 to 15% since 1990, just the amount of cheap electronic entertainment available to men. Okay, somebody's listing games. Yeah, yeah, no. I accumulated many of the games that you guys are listing. Double Dragon, um, Battletoads, and stuff like that. I'm talking about when I first got Nintendo. I didn't play Tecmo Bowl, but my brother had it, so it existed in our house. The problem is the people online are weirdos now. Well, I think that weirdos exist in any population, and everybody's online, including the weirdos. So yeah.
Men are lonely, genuinely lonely. But instead of trying to fill that void by orbiting
I wouldn't know. I don't know if I would call a man that's addicted to video games lonely. No more than I would call a crackhead lonely. Yes, he's alone, but he seems quite content in his narcotics. And yes, because of his narcotics, well, I told you I wasn't going to get into the difference between lonely and alone. So I get where she's going with that, though.
Someone who doesn't want them. They're building something real, connection with other men, a relationship with themselves, a sense of purpose that doesn't depend on anyone else's validation. That's not giving up, that's growing up. Here's what fascinates me: the friend zone, the one sided dynamic, the emotional cost of waiting for someone who was never going to choose them. This conversation has been happening in male spaces for a very long time. But a lot of women, they're just now noticing the effect, not because they weren't paying attention, but because the men who left didn't make a scene. They didn't announce their departure. They didn't send a breakup text to women. They were never even dating. They just stopped showing up. And that's the thing about quiet dignity. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't seek validation. It just moves on. So now you have some women making videos, oh, why men don't approach anymore, why they can't find anyone to help them, why the men who used to be available now vanished. And the answer has been there the whole time. Those men learned something important. They learned that their time has value, their energy has value, their attention has value, and they stopped giving it away for free to people who didn't value it back.
Many women are asking, where are the good men? Now, from the male perspective, this question isn't being ignored, it's being felt too. But the answer might lie in how men are evolving emotionally and personally. More and more men today are valuing their peace, protecting their mental health, and learning to love themselves in ways they never did before. Now, after years of being told to suppress emotions, constantly provide, and push through pain silently, there's been a shift. Men are waking up to the importance of balance, healing, and mutual respect in relationships. It's not about avoiding love or commitment, it's about being intentional. Many men are realizing that they would
Mm. Mutual respect in relationships. Okay, I like what this brother's is talking with his young Coach Greg Adams beard. Oh, and he got the NFL attire. So he's like assistant coach Greg Adams. Like, one day he'll be full gray beard, but until then until then he's assistant coach Greg Adams. Hit the like button.
rather be single and centered than in a relationship that feels one sided or emotionally draining. They're choosing to grow, to lead with integrity, and to wait for a connection that aligns with the values and brings genuine peace. So when people ask, where are the good men? The answer is they're here. They're just quieter, more self aware, and not rushing into situations that don't feel healthy. It's not a matter of
Mm,
blame.
good point. Good point.
It's a matter of timing, alignment, and both men and women continuing to do the inner work to build something real.
Remember the man who was good enough for everything except being chosen? He finally chose himself, and he didn't need anyone's permission to do so. So, to the men watching this, if you've ever felt used by someone who kept you around for what you could provide, while making it clear that you'd never be enough to actually be with, you're not crazy. You're not bitter. You're not a bad person for walking away. You recognize an unequal dynamic and you chose yourself. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. And if you redirected that energy into building yourself up, into your career, into your health, into your friendship, your purpose, that's not giving up on love. That's becoming someone worth loving. The friend zone only works if men agree to stay in it. And millions of men
Mm.
have made a different choice, not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of self respect. One comment I saw, they put it perfectly: from friend zone to friends on. And honestly, That might be the healthiest thing to happen to male female dynamic in a generation. Because when men stop accepting less than what they deserve, when they stop being available for people who only value their utility, it forces everyone to be more honest about what they want, about what they're offering, whether the change is fair. And that honesty, that's the foundation real relationships are built on. Not friend zone, not waiting rooms, not one-sided arrangement disguised as friendship. Real connection, real reciprocity, real respect. And if that's what it takes to get there, then the friend zone deserves to be abandoned. Some doors close on you, and some doors you have to close yourself. This was one of them. If this one hits home, tell me your story in the comments. It's been your girlfriend Renee here. I'll see you guys in my next video.
Okay, here's the thing, and this especially goes to black people. Um, I don't think I don't entirely agree with her because I do feel that two people of the opposite sex can be friends even if one person is attractive. I do feel like this. I do feel that that's true if you're dealing with mature people. I think that if one party is immature, then it becomes very, very awkward and weird. But it's like, dang, how can I say this? All right, let me think on this for a second. I don't want people to not embrace friendship for fear of being friend zoned or friend zoning someone. I think that two mature people would be able to have like an intelligent conversation about that if they felt that something could be popping off that's not reciprocated. So like if two people are friends and the woman, senses something that he may want more than the existing friendship, then I do think that the mature thing to do would be to just simply state like, and I know it's hard to find a context to bring this up, but um, I hope I'm not leading you on by doing these things with you because I value our friendship, but I value it as a friendship. Or I value our friendship, but I have a man. Like there's ways, and then for the guy, um, if he just so happened to be in a friend zone, or actually, it's probably because in a situation where a woman thinks that the guy is in a friend zone, like he would have an equally awkward conversation and or actually, he don't really have to have a conversation. He could just pull back, like, okay, I don't want her to think that I'm into her in that way, so I'm not gonna. Well, actually, not, because then that would just affect the friendship. I don't know, but two intelligent people should come to a better resolution than I might be in a friend zone, so I'm not gonna call this person, or I'm not gonna keep this person in a friend zone, so I'm not gonna call this person. I think that there's a better way to deal with something like that. Um, but nevertheless, I do agree with her commentary. Love her voice, and yeah, we could definitely leave it at that. Let me read some of your comments. So y'all really like video games. Everything in moderation. Even YouTube, even my channel, even Red Pill content. Everything in moderation. Not every drug is a narcotic. I'm going to say that again. Not every drug is a narcotic. Basically, anything that you enjoy a lot can have the same effect in your life as a drug. And this isn't me giving you all life advice. This is just me saying from what I've seen and my own dealings in video games and why I had to like not do it. Like to this day, I don't have like I know Skylar, he has a PS5. I don't have any, and I haven't in decades on the video game system because I know that I'm not like Skylar who could play it recreationally. I'm a person who it would affect my personal and professional life if I did so. It can be that. So I would say play with caution. There's no such thing as friendship with benefits if it don't make sense. And where are you guys and still dating in the West? Oh, wait. And, oh, excuse me. And why are you guys still dating in the West? Why? Because we're economically bound here. Either we don't have enough money to travel and stay somewhere indefinitely, and or the money we do have is tied to us living here. So in a very real way, I mean, and I think that passport bros bring up this statement as if it's easy to do from a financial standpoint. Like no matter what, you're leaving a place that has the highest earning potential in the world ever. You're leaving that place. Very few skills can you transfer to other places and get paid what you make in the US in that place. Like, so if you are a mason, a brick mason, yes, there are other countries who need brick masons, but your pay would drastically decrease, drastically, if you were to lay bricks in certain choice countries, drastically. And then some skills just don't transfer whatsoever. Say if you wanted to move to like Haiti or Dominican Republic and you work in cybersecurity, they don't really have or need many cybersecurity people there at all. If you're a doctor and you move to a developing countries, there's less of a need for you there. And most certainly a huge, enormous decrease in pay. So yeah, there are a lot of things that can that binds people to the US, and all of those things just so happen to be spelled Money. Happy New Year to you too. Happy New Year to everybody here. All right. Oh, is that all of them? Am I done in the 2 hour mark? Cool. Yep, looks like I am. All right. So want to thank the Cash App Super Chats, managers, moderators, those who are listening silently, and those who participate in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out. Game Changer 00100. Game over. Peace.